Yeah, Chucky, the famous red-headed little good guy murderous psycho sumbitch. One of my favorite horror characters ever, definitely in top 3 along with Dracula and Hannibal Lecter, and it's mainly due to his personality. He's funny and serious, and sometimes his serious is funny. He sparked over 7 films, a future TV series coming in 2020, many comic books, spoofs, and a lot more. Now, with the upcoming remake being released this summer, with Mark Hamill voicing Chucky, I figured it would be a good time to review his movies before this one comes out. And yes, that's fucking Woody lying there dead. Hilarious. Chucky, you sick fuck, he never knew where Andy was. So join me for this little epic journey through the history of Chucky in the one and the only Chuck-a-thon, or Chucky-thon, or whatever the hell AMC calls it for their marathon during their annual Oktoberfest, Fear Fest, whatever the fuck. I guess I should start with how Chucky got started with a real-life case that happened long ago. That's right, Chucky was inspired by an actual doll, and this doll is known as Robert the Doll. Yep. This doll came alive with some voodoo magic and was able to change expressions and move around, making creepy, giggling noises. There were many accounts with this doll, and many of them can be seen in the first Chucky movie titled Child's Play, the movie that started it all. Scenes that involved the main character Andy Barkley talking to Chucky on a chair were real accounts with Robert. A mother hearing Andy talk to the doll only to hear some mumbling words talking back to him were also accounts. So yep, Robert had a big hand in the inspiration of Chucky, or as my swipe texting tried to say for the script, cocky. Yep. Moving on. The idea of a little boy having a doll that he claims talks back to him and acts on its own is a really creepy concept because it leaves the audience guessing if the boy is really telling the truth or if he has just gone insane and that it's all in his head. That alone would have been a very creepy idea in its own right. Which brings me to my first complaint in the movie. The beginning. Yes, everything that happened in the beginning with the big shootout and police chase, I honestly could have done better without it. Usually when I watch this movie, I like to skip it because it ruins the suspense of the mysterious alive doll idea. When Charles Lee Ray, the killer played by Brad Dourif in all 7 films, you brave and honorable man. Anyway, when he does the epic voodoo spell that casts his soul into the body of the doll, it's like, now we know the doll is going to be alive moving on its own throughout the film. So yeah, the beginning kind of ruins it for me, but anyone out there who likes an epic shootout and explosions, then you're in for a thrill. But then, later on in the film, there's a scene between Andy's mother Karen and Detective Mike Norris, played by Chris Sarandon, and they discuss the whole incident that happened between him and Charles Lee Ray, and it's like, yeah, we already know that. It would have been a good little twist if they cut the whole beginning part out, because Mike was already a big part in the story, and it would have been cool to have that feeling like, oh shit, he killed the actual guy? And then Chucky coming after him would have been a good surprise, like he wants revenge. But they blew it. And then they have the whole scene about the person who created the voodoo magic, and there's more backstory to how everything works with it, which is just too wild for me. Not only that, but for the frickin' mojo that comes after. I love this scene because it comes out of nowhere and Chucky fucks around with him and breaks parts of his body. It's pretty nuts for a movie just about a killer doll. A simple concept that could have been just as good as the living doll from the Twilight Zone. That episode didn't have any backstory and it worked perfectly. Nobody questioned anything there. What would have been different here? And this was the 80s, no internet. Okay, now let me back the fuck up now, homeboy. Towards the middle of the film, when Andy is sleeping, things take an unexpected turn. Karen's best friend Maggie is launched outside the window by a toy hammer and falls to her death onto a car. That scene is still pretty amazing and wild. Also, how did Chucky reach up to Maggie's head with that hammer? Anyway, suspicions start to grow on Andy being the killer, which sends him into a psychiatric hospital after Chucky ordered Andy to send him to his former partner Eddie Caputo's house, which freaking looks like it's outside the city limits of hell. I mean, there's rats all over the place, broken dishes, broken windows. What the fuck has this guy been doing with his life? Well, anyway, he abandoned Charles in the beginning with the police chase, and now he wants revenge. It's a very nerve-wracking scene that has you on the edge, especially when you hear that laugh. And then, without any hesitation, Eddie just shoots the oven that Chucky left on and boom! Any horror movie with an exploding house is good in my book. Well, during the whole Mojo scene, Chucky learns that he has to transfer his soul into Andy because he's the first person he told his secret to, that he was Charles Lee Ray, and if Chucky waits too long, he'll be trapped inside the doll. This is one of the best things about the movie. I love how all throughout the film, Chucky gradually starts becoming more human inside the doll. From an innocent-looking good guy doll to a creepy devilish doll out to kill, kill, kill. That's amazing, which brings me to say, this is my favorite Chucky design ever. I think he looks absolutely badass. I have no idea why on earth they haven't made Chucky look like this throughout the sequels. Like, how hard is it, damn it? And unfortunately, he only looks like this for a few minutes until he's burned to a crisp. The behind-the-scenes footage of how they did Chucky is incredible, with all the animatronics and actors they got to be in a suit, all worked out well. So Chucky goes on a wild goose chase after Andy throughout the mental institute. He electrocutes the warden, I guess you can say, who literally ignores everything Andy is saying, which is really funny, and he pays for it. Chucky jumps on Andy's head, and he whacks him in the head with a bat. Jeez, Chucky ain't playing. I do love the scene where he does the spell in the apartment building. It's very suspenseful. Karen and Mike have to hurry to save Andy. The rest of the movie just has Chucky being abused like crazy. An arm, a leg, his head, all come off. And he gets shot in the heart, which the voodoo guy named John said was still human in Chucky. Apparently, there was a completely different ending to this movie, in which Chucky's remains would have been taken to an evidence department, and then the disembodied arm would swat away a fly, which is just, it just sounds dumb. The movie does have its comedic moments though, and what could have been the definitive end for Chucky wasn't, because he would come back. And that's the first of 7 movies. This is the only installment in the franchise that is owned by MGM, while all the other films are owned by Universal. Whenever AMC runs its Fear Fest marathon of Chucky, they always tend to skip the first movie and start with Child's Play 2, all the way through Cult of Chucky. And it's not just AMC. I've seen other channels that skip the first movie, and it's all because the first is owned by a different company, while all the others are one big happy family. So it's like this movie is an outcast, but I will say it is my favorite in the whole series, obviously, because the first always tend to be the best, unless you're Friday the 13th. It does have some flaws, and it could have done better with a lot of scenes being cut. As a matter of fact, there were a lot of scenes cut from this film. I would have probably rather see those scenes of the film rather than the ones we've got. But it is what it is, and there is a still image of a little girl holding Chucky up by a door, which we assume is Andy's. I wish we could have seen what that was about. The movie did receive controversy when it came out, but I won't go into detail about it because it's too gruesome. But since then, it's been a huge cult following, and I mean huge, America, huge. Okay, now, the car chase is great, the finale is bonkers, and when Chucky comes alive for the first time and shouts all those vulgarities, you're fucking hooked. Chucky, you're the man. Let's move on to your sequels and see what's in store.
Ugly doll. Fuck you.